are these people?
Which is
Wicked Witch of the West.
Yes. So
Literally.
Catilin and Matt Taibbi with a 1-2 punch here this week against this despicable fucking cretin. So Queen Warmonger, which, you know, we might have a couple of those crowns around right now. Tulsi looking at you.
Right.
So Queen Warmonger Hillary Clinton complains about men starting wars. That's what you say? Men starting wars.
Madeleine Albright. Albright.
Anyone? Yep. Von der Leyen. There's a few out there.
Susan Reef.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Kissinger is going to transition any day now. So, you know. But anyway, did you see the Hillary Rodham Clinton Awards? Did you see the Hillies?
No. Please, no. I don't
well,
know.
Too bad.
No.
Yeah.
Provided, open up schools. That takes a lot of work, and maybe there is more ways that the international community can intervene more quickly. Both.
Let's go here.
Wars are waged, and trying in and what's happening in Sudan. But
no.
What do you see as the big
not accept to be sitting with them at the same table?
service program student? What do you see as the biggest challenge for women, peace, and security over the next 10 years? What is the next milestone we are all aiming for?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is men starting wars, and
Go on.
Then you must be a man, because you definitely start your
I don't think they have enough to do. And it is really troubling that here we are in 2023, and you know, there's war breaking out everywhere. Some of it is already been spoken to, like what's happening in Yemen and what's happening in Sudan. But there's so many other places, and all of our efforts, especially on the multilateral level, to try to end wars are, you know, not as successful as we would like, because there's diplomatic efforts going on. As we heard from Muna, I mean, she wants it changed so it's more effective, but it's happening.
Muna in the
I
chat.
know that the African Union and others have been trying in Sudan and, you know, Syria. Even when I was Secretary of State, we were trying to end that conflict. But the mechanisms for trying to do that are not.
You notice that? Just like when I was Secretary of State anyway. Moving on.
Sufficient any longer, and we're going to have to rethink that at the international level. I do believe that one of our big challenges, and it was, you know, something Christiane referred to about Afghanistan. You know, when wars are waged and won, and groups take over governments, there's often a lot of confusion about what they're supposed to do. And so, as Christiane said, the Haqqani network has been around forever. One of the ancestors of the Haqqanis, there's a picture of him with, you know, President Reagan in the White House, because the Haqqanis were major fighters in the war against the Soviet Union.
AKA terrorists.
When men fight for a long time.
What did they become, Hillary? What did they become? What did they turn into?
It's what they know to do. Governing is really hard. Making decisions about how you're going to get food to people, get agriculture going, get health care provided, open up schools.
Sorry, what?
You did none of that, though.
I'm sorry, get health care provided? I'm sorry, I thought that would never come to pass. I thought that would never come to pass. Fucking...
That takes a lot of work, and maybe there is more ways that the international community can intervene more quickly. both to prevent wars and then to try to end wars and then to try to help with transitions so that services can start up again and elections can be held and leaders can, start to meet on a broad social basis. But, first we've got to stop the wars from starting.
Spooky in the chat. This is fucking surreal. Surreal would be better. I'd appreciate that. Like a little bit of Frida. You know what I mean?
Why did you do this segment? Why?
Because it has ulterior things.
Divided. Open up.
We're gonna get there. So Catilin. Some days the Catilin Johnstone articles write themselves. During her self-titled annual awards ceremony at Georgetown University, it was at Georgetown, by the way.
Yeah, I saw.
Hillary Clinton said, the biggest obstacle to peace and security around the world is men starting wars. Why? During the Q&A segment of the event, Clinton was asked by a student, what do you see as the biggest challenge for women, peace, and security over the next 10 years? The single strongest argument against Hillary Rodham Clinton's suggestion that only men start wars is the career of Hillary Rodham Clinton. This is, after all, the same woman who chortled with delight when she found out Muammar Gaddafi had been lynched in the streets following the U.S.-led overthrow in Libya during her tenure as Secretary of State, saying, I'm sure it did. When asked if his death had anything to do with her visit to the country, the same woman who, as Secretary of State, promoted the plan of arming extremists in Syria with the goal of toppling Damascus. The same woman who, as senator, played a pivotal role in convincing the Democratic Party to support the invasion of Iraq based on lies. Okay? Like those incubator baby lies. The same woman who, as First Lady, said she urged her husband, Bill Clinton, to launch the bombing campaign that would leave Serbia and Kosovo covered in cluster munitions. Where have we seen those been used recently? The same woman who, as U.S. presidential candidate, advocated a no-fly zone in Syria, which would have required attacks on Russian warplanes who violated it, and endorsed the same brinkmanship policy in Ukraine, which eventually provoked the Russia invasion.
Which, as I've said, if she were to be president, we would have had an issue with Ukraine in 2016.
2016, it would have just been quicker.
A lot quicker.
When Tulsi Gabbard famously dubbed Clinton the Queen of Warmongers in 2019, it wasn't just empty rhetoric. Don't fall into that same trap there, lady.
She just did.
Literally believe in the incubator babies, but okay, oh well. You were there, you know what the lies were. You signed up, remember? There is no woman alive who anyone could argue is more deserving of that title. If you had told me there was a Hillary Rodham Clinton Awards ceremony prior to me having read about it, I would have assumed it was an event where women received trophies for killing large numbers of human beings with military violence. It is, of course, true that men have been the drivers of the overwhelming majority of wars throughout the ages, but that's just what's so disgusting about the modern iteration of feminism that Hillary Clinton rode to prominence on. The girl boss feminism of the Hillary Clinton age has ceased to mean advancing women's interests and ensuring that women are treated as equals to men, and has become a vapid celebration of examples of women proving that they can be just as murderous, tyrannical, and abusive as any man. That was the zeitgeist that Hillary Clinton rode her 2016 presidential campaign on, and when the American public recoiled in horror and refused to vote for her, it was spun as a victory for misogyny. It should have been spun as a victory for would-be bombing victims who would live in U.S.-targeted nations. Hillary Clinton is all the worst things about modern liberals in the Democratic Party. She is a blood-spattered psychopath who has dedicated her life to serving all the worst impulses of the human species: imperialism, militarism, capitalism, authoritarianism, and yes, patriarchy, wearing a grinning plastic mask of civil rights and social justice to convince people to let her in the door. She's one of the creepiest things you could possibly imagine, and the sooner her and those like her are gone and forgotten, the better. And there's a lot more in that list.
Is this your spooky?
No, that's the later one. But sure, this ghoul could also be spooky month story. So yeah, I mean, mainly it's that we've been through this before with Hillary, with Bernie, with stop letting these politicians pander to you and get you fucked up, and then let them lie once they get power and do the most despicable things. I'm sure the calls for misinformation from the people who you thought were free speech warriors will be coming. So prep for that. But Matt Taibbi wants to make that part of this argument. Asking if she's gone mad. She went mad. She knows exactly what she's doing, Taibbi. I wish it were insanity. Hillary Clinton suggests formal deprogramming for 70 million. Okay, so here she is on.
I know. Okay.
Yep, here she is on the Clinton News Network.
Very strong partisans in both parties in the past, and we had very bitter battles over all kinds of things, gun control and climate change and the economy and taxes. But there wasn't this little tail of extremism wagging the dog of the Republican Party as it is today. And sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. And when do they break with him? Because at some point, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen. And how do
you... Deprogramming, Collin. So what do you think that might entail? Feels like holding your eyelids open.
I mean, I would say what I want to say, but we will get
sure.
If I could say it here. But
so Taibbi writes, Hillary Clinton last night on the Clinton News Network said of Trump supporters, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members. This, among other things, came in the context of a report in Newsweek. The effect that the federal government and the FBI in particular has quietly created a new category of extremists that it seeks to track and counter. Donald Trump's army of MAGA followers. That seems like a lot of people. In addition to the obvious observation that people like Hillary seem increasingly unmoored from reality, as well as willfully deaf to the political consequences of their words, maybe we need to formally deprogram you, makes the basket of deplorables episode seem like a Valentine's Day card. Someone should point out that a month ago, on September 8th, Joe Biden renewed the original state of emergency issued 3 days after 9/11 by George W. He spent the last 22 years giving presidents the ability to surveil, isolate, and detain even American citizens. Fortunately, we'll never regret those decisions. What impolitic comment is next? We have enough railway capacity for the job. Welcome future deprogrammed banners above the entrances to decommissioned military bases. These people are truly cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and this would be funny if Hillary Clinton's mouth were not such an accurate weather vane for establishment thinking. So yeah, deprogramming, deplatforming, all that fun stuff. So
they're basically getting rid of us.
Yeah.
In a manner of speaking.
Yeah, and turn your brains into mush and whatever. Now, Collin, we've talked about a story known as MK Ultra, where they did what to black people in prison? Mm-hmm. How did that work? How did they try to deprogram you guys? Well, and also putting like benzodiazepines in the food and poisoning you and medically castrating you, and I mean, this is like, that's what they did to Turing. Like, there's a lot of deprogramming that is not great. So yeah, to deprogram, what do you got to do first, Collin? You got to get rid of the original programming.
Right. And who caused that?
Yes. Right.
But that's the thing. It's like it's just a reminder that Hillary was just a shit candidate, and she and like just the arrogance of this woman, which you can argue competes with any man. I would more or less argue she's talking about men, but she acts like one. Part
of it is that they've gotten worse at lying. Partially because we're so fast at getting the truth out.
I think they think they can get away with it because our brains, we don't retain information. We forget information like in 2 minutes versus like a decade ago.
Yeah, it's just distract. And the ones that are getting silenced are the ones that remember and continue to talk about what they've witnessed, what they've seen.
Right.
You know, and those are the ones who are locked up in Belmarsh, you know, for deprogramming. Like that dude's brain is not going to be the same when he gets out. So, you know, I don't know. I felt like this story was important just to see, you know, what they're talking about among those circles is the solution, you know? So how did that one guy put it? The ultimate solution. I think those were the, you know, we're heading there. Like, which you have, I think, a Lafredo video later that people are literally on that thinking. Well, there are people should go watch that. So, that was pretty hard to watch. But anyway, closing thoughts on that, or are we good?
No, we're good. I don't want to talk about Hillary.
Me either.
I'm good with her.
Cool.
So